So, my sister is just got out of prison after 2 years. She went to prison for stealing money from her boyfriend, which surprised no one as she spent most her life stealing from family members including me. When it was family. Our parents easily talked anyone out of pressing charges. But these people did stop talking to her. The only people who talk to my sister anymore are our parents. She burned every family bridge she had. But her biggest mistake was stealing the money from her boyfriend. He wasn't so easily convinced to let it go. He pressed charges and eventually she was found guilty. So the issue here is. My sister has nowheres to go. She can't pay her rent. And all the halfway house are full due to a high in early releases. So this is where I might be an idiot. My parents expect me to let her stay with me and my boyfriend. Because we have extra room. They live in a senior citizen apartment that doesn't allow long-term guests. I gave them a hard no. Even if we forget my sister's criminal past. And the fact she stole from me. She also extremely full of herself. Doesn't think she did everything wrong. Make excuses for everything. She actually blame her ex for her prison time. She has repeatedly said. It was only stole $3,000. He didn't need to go to the police for something so petty. She doesn't seem to care how her action affect others. And on top of that she love using homophobic and making homophobic jokes. She's not homophobic. She never uses these slurs on anyone but me, and if she really mad my boyfriend. She only uses these slurs because she know it hurts me. My parents are mad I'm refusing. Demanding I allow her to live with me. Shaming me for even thinking of leaving her homeless. As I said, my sister burned her bridges with the rest of the family. So there no one else for her to go. So I'm standing my ground. She not living here. Not the idiot. She made her bed, now let her lie in it. She's an adult who stole from those closest to her, many times, now she has to face the consequences of it. It's not surprising that she doesn't think she's at fault. Your parents let her continue with this delusion. They keep making excuses for her and have contributes to letting it get this bad. You should set some clear boundaries with them soon. They are lumping this on you, it is not your responsibility. If they don't want her to be homeless, then they can pay for her accommodation somewhere. If they cannot, then why do they expect you to do it for free? Not to mention the risk of her stealing from you. And if that were to happen, let's be honest, there is a chance your parents won't even believe you unless you had hard proof. Here's what would happen if you let her live with you. 1. She will steal from you again. 2. You will have to decide if you want to press charges against her. 3. If you press charges, she will blame you like she blamed her boyfriend, and your parents will likely blame you too after they try to convince you not to, of course. If you don't press charges, you will either have to live with her stealing from you, probably losing your own boyfriend in the process, or face the same decision of making her homeless by evicting her from your house. Not the idiot in any way. You're not the idiot. A family relative of mine used to steal. A lot. He had ridiculous excuses about how the money disappeared. No one wanted to be near him. Even now he isn't invited to any function. And his brother threw him out and didn't take him in. He got a job and is now married with a kid, but still people don't like him. Tell your sister to get a job and earn money. Not all criminals have a home to go to. Never let her in your house. But help her in other way if you can. Not monetary help but something else if you want to. I, 26, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, 28, for a year. He is an artist, that is to say he feels like Picasso, while venting his frustrations from a full-time job at a bank, accountant, in a canvas, while I am a biomedical engineer. As such I have a toolbox in the house that I bought for household repairs and the like, while another bigger toolbox sits in my room. We don't live together, filled with my very expensive and specialized tools I use for work. Specifically I work at a hospital installing, maintaining and repairing the big machinery used in diagnostics. I must remark that these tools cannot be just bought at a hardware store as a lot of them are machine specific or brand specific, and that I must use them to maintain the insurance and guarantee of these machines. It has never bothered me that he uses common house things to add to his canvas, as he has never taken anything that wasn't already on its way to the bin or donation. But one day I got back from work and he is in the house, in my backyard flinging paint at a canvas with some weird shape stuck to it. At first, I didn't know what he had pasted on there until I saw my toolbox dumped by his feet and a lot of the tools just strewn all around. The tipping point came when I saw my oscilloscope broken apart and glued to the monstrosity in the yard. That thing alone cost me $750, let alone the rest of my ruined tools. I saw red. I don't even remember what I said to him, only that he ran away and was actually crying, full on bawling. I had no time nor the patience to deal with that, so I took inventory of what he ruined and talked to my boss to see what I could do. Non-electric or simple tools like special screwdrivers. How he ruined a screwdriver I have no idea. Clamps, measuring tools the hospital will replace at no cost, but the other ones like the oscilloscope and a few other electric tools I had to replace myself. I looked for the exact tools I had before and it came up to $1,876 to replace everything. Checked with a family member who is a lawyer, bought all the replacements, and sent the bill to my boyfriend. Well, his mom called me screaming, saying how could I do this to her baby and how he doesn't have the money to pay for it. I know for a fact he does. I told her that if he doesn't pay, the provider will sue him, and so will I, and then just hanged up. Not 10 minutes later he called. He was crying and screaming, so I just left the phone next to me and continued to work. When I didn't hear the ruckus from the phone, I picked it up again, being noisy in the action, so he realizes I didn't listen to a word he said and asked if he was done throwing a tantrum. He hanged up. I felt justified at the moment, but I was telling this to a coworker and he said I was too harsh, but I did what I had to do to continue my work. If he wanted to paint tools, there was another toolbox with cheaper stuff in the kitchen. He knows my toolbox is more expensive, so why? I don't understand. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This is the normal pattern when a young child damages something he shouldn't have gotten into. Kid throws a tantrum and mom screams, making excuses as to why they shouldn't have to pay for what the kid broke. Your boyfriend is not a toddler, however. For an adult this is totally pathetic, especially him running to mommy. Boyfriend should be apologizing and paying up, no fuss no muss. If he won't, the law can come in to force him to act responsibly like an adult. You were not too harsh. You would be in the right even if you were harsher and dumped him. He absolutely has to pay up. If doesn't have to, it's just an open door to more and more disrespect. At best he is a wildly inconsiderate man who somehow forgot you have a job that requires specialized tools. At worst he is a controlling, manipulative man who intentionally ruined your things. This behavior was abusive, and having his mom call on his behalf is a sign he was expecting to get away with treating you so poorly, and likely would again. He needs to pay you back and then go far, far away. Even if it had been just the normal tools, they're still not precisely cheap, and he destroyed them for use in their intended function. Any decent artist I've ever met either buys their own supplies themselves, asks for donations of items, or literally dumpster dives for stuff that's already unwanted. They absolutely don't just take stuff from around the house, break it, and try and claim art. Your, hopefully now ex-boyfriend messed around and found out what happens. He broke your property, now he has to replace it. I married my current wife 6 years ago. She has a 14-year-old son, and I have a 16-year-old son from my previous marriage. We normally don't deal with a ton of issues as a blended family. My stepson Joshua is nice to everyone and likes sharing a lot. It's his way of forming strong bonds. My son Scotty, however, is the complete opposite. He hates sharing and is very private. He takes offense to his brother going into his room and borrowing stuff from him. He hates that Joshua does it frequently, but my wife and I thought it was completely normal, as long as Joshua returns everything later. Scotty started complaining about it openly lately, saying Joshua has gone too far with his behavior, taking stuff constantly without permission. My wife and I came up with a solution, which was getting Scotty a safe to store his valuable possessions, but Scotty said this wasn't enough since he has tons of stuff and can't put it all in a safe. It all came to head last week when Joshua took Scotty's Lego collection to take pictures of it outside the house and accidentally broke a couple of pieces. Scotty blew up and got his mom involved. My ex-wife then bought and sent him a lock to install in his bedroom door the same day, which got my wife go mad, calling her disrespectful and overstepping to send locks over to our house. They had a verbal fight on the phone, and I returned home to see my wife arguing with Scotty after he refused to return the lock. I asked what the heck was going on, and my wife said Scotty was expecting her to let him install the lock his mom sent to our house. She said neither boys is allowed to have locks. Scotty said he was done with Joshua taking and breaking his stuff and begged me to say something, convince my wife to let him keep a lock, but I told him my wife was right in that it was disrespectful of his mom to send a lock to our house. Scotty said if we're so against his mom getting him a lock, then I should get him one instead, but I refused since my wife said neither boys are allowed a lock, so it's not like Joshua has a lock and Scotty doesn't. Scotty threw a fit calling me terrible and that he can't wait to move out and be done with our nonsense. We had Joshua apologize, but still Scotty isn't having it. My former in-laws argued that I was being unfair to Scotty after he complained to them and told me to let him keep a lock and no side with my wife and her son. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. I have news for you. Joshua is not nice to everyone. Being nice includes respecting others' belongings and their privacy, and he is not doing that with your son. He invades Scotty's privacy, takes his stuff without permission, and apparently damages some of it. That's not sharing, for God's sake, that is taking without permission. We have a word for that, and it's not sharing. You are the problem here. You do nothing to correct Joshua's bad behavior or support Scotty in setting entirely reasonable boundaries for his privacy. You obviously favor your stepson and have zero respect for Scotty's need for privacy and security, that his things belong to him. Your ex was right on to send him a lock. Thank goodness she is looking out for his concerns, since you won't and your idiot wife doesn't think it matters. Essentially what you're doing with this entire situation is telling your son that your stepson is more important. It is not normal for one kid to just waltz into another kid's room and take whatever they want without asking. There's no boundaries here. Your stepson needs to start respecting your son's personal space. Well, I think your son's mom overreacted and overstepped. What she did is understandable. You and your wife won't set boundaries, so your ex is trying to protect her kid. Stick up for your son. Set boundaries. Letting your stepson walk all over your son has gone on long enough. It is not normal for kids to take their siblings' belongings without asking. Sounds to me that Joshua's definition of sharing is taking stuff that doesn't belong to him. Joshua also breaks the things he shares. You were seeing Joshua as being nice and Scotty as the bad child because Scotty complained about Joshua. You saw the complaints as the problem instead of the real problem, Joshua's behavior. You should have taken Scotty's complaints more seriously. At this point, you should buy 2 locks and install one on each bedroom door. Problem solved. My ex, 35, and I, 36, divorced last year. In the beginning we were pretty civil, things have changed, and he's pretty hostile with me. We have 2 kids together. I have primary custody of our kids and have them about 75% of the time. The decree states the kids are to go to school in the zone based on my residence. Since I had moved out after our divorce, I'm in a new school zone. I have made him aware over the summer I need to follow the decree and transfer. He was very against this. Ultimately it's my decision, but I try to get his input before decisions are made. I made sure the kids were okay with this transition to a new school, then registered them for school. I texted him to tell him they were now registered for the new school. No response. The next day the school had a meet the teacher night. I texted him the teacher's name. No response. One of our daughters wanted a pink streak in her hair. I texted him to ask if he was okay with that. No response. There were a few other texts I sent with no response from him. I thought this was so bizarre because pretty much all summer he's been harassing me. Because of this I have retained a lawyer to do a modification, so a judge makes us use a parenting app to text. It should limit the harassment and abusive texts. The end of the first day of school came and I was getting the kids ready for school. My phone was DND. Checked the time and I had 17 missed calls from 7 a.m. 7:25. Then he called again. I told him I'm doing their hair, but I'll put you on speaker. He starts berating me, telling me I ruined this special moment for him and he wanted to see them off. He made it seem to the kids that I intentionally left him out of loop. Even though our homes are in different school zones, he lives close. I told him we are leaving for school in 10 min and he can meet us there. We hung up. I texted him the teachers' names again. He didn't show up. Later I got many abusive texts. He said I screwed up his chance to see them off. He told me he needs to take custody of the kids for what I've done. I asked why he waited until the morning of the first day of school to make arrangements with me. He said he blocked me because I called his new girlfriend's son a friend of our kids instead of brother. My kids had never said brother, but call him a best friend. He said I disrespected him and his family and this was my punishment. Him blocking me is like goals. Because I know the kids need contact with him, but it was nice those few days not hearing from him. I feel like this is completely on him. Had he not blocked me, he would have received important texts regarding the kids and info on their new school and teachers' names. He also could have made arrangements the night prior after he was done punishing me. All he did was punish himself and his children. What if there had been an emergency? I could be blinded by my frustration with him, but I need to know, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You need to save and document every bit of his communication. Don't delete. Don't edit. Make backups of everything. Go to your lawyer and pursue a change of conditions. He doesn't get to punish you for anything. Ever. It's his own abuse which is screwing up his relationship with the children. You've been reasonable. You've attempted to include him and keep him apprised of household changes. You've made the effort to co-parent, and what he's giving you in return is abuse and attempts at parental alienation. Which, without living with him full-time, will not have the same effect, but it hurts the children nonetheless to have him attempt to turn them against you. Your ex is a straight-up narcissist. I've been with one and I know this is classic behavior. They'll cut off communications with you, but make it your problem. They'll punish you for any little thing that doesn't suit them. No matter how nice you are, no matter how honest or generous or communicative you are with them, they will always blame everything on you. Unfortunately, you have kids with this douche canoe, so you have to find a way to deal with him. But please make sure your kids and their mental health and well-being come first. Having a narcissist for a parent can be very confusing and emotionally damaging. Don't take anything he says to heart. His only goal is finding ways of making you look bad while he plays the victim. I hope your kids enjoy their new school. My dad is like this. I hate him so much as I have now grown older and realized he was 100% in the wrong. He is going to lead this lifestyle if he doesn't get his act together. You have to bring this up to the judge or it will be many years of this. Trust me, my mom already went through it and I want to warn you on this. I hope you know this is abusive behavior and you are not in the wrong at all. Stay strong and know when these things happen you are not in the wrong. That punishment thing? That's beyond messed up. Take screenshots of all of these messages and even record those phone calls and hope the judge handles the rest to your kids' benefit. Trust me, the kids will get affected emotionally if this keeps on happening.